That's
bacon
fine.
cheeseburger.
I had all that kettle corn.
Dude,
Hey, welcome everybody. I don't know what's going on with the kettle corn, but you got something
Restart
to
it.
say?
No. Restart this.
We're not
I'm not
restarting it. You know
no,
what?
I'm
This
not.
is special. This is
No.
episode 10. 10 for us. Look at that. Hugh?
What?
Oh man, you felt like you wanted to start off this podcast. You talk about some popcorn. What's popping?
You hadn't
What's
started
popping?
yet.
What's popping? Brand new episode just dropped in.
That's probably gonna be copyrighted
Look,
there.
This is episode 10 right here. This is called Problems. Every team has at least one of them. What
I
do
got
we
one
need
with
to
you
do
right now.
What do we need to do to get rid of them? What do we need to do to fix them? Or what can change in these situations? We're going to do the East Coast, the West Coast, and we're going to give y'all what we think in short-term answers, and then follow it up with some brief discussions here. Let's do a review of every team. Welcome to Kicking in the Second Half. I am D, that is Groot with the little Hulk, and we have Hugh popping off with some popcorn. Do you have any more left?
I ate that whole thing. That was dinner. I'm all out.
And our special guest, we have your bud 36 again. What up, YB? How you doing, bro?
I'm doing pretty good, D. Thanks for having me back for the exciting 10th episode. And I'm happy to be here and to talk about our thoughts of each team so far and what they need going forward. It's going to be exciting.
That's right. What they need is to get rid of the problems. But sometimes when you get rid of one, you get another. That's why we got Hugh.
Man, you coming from my throat tonight. What'd I do to you?
I don't know what's in your throat right now. Maybe some popcorn. But yeah, let's do the East. This is going to be round one. Fight. All right. So yeah, just give me some responses here. Let's start off with Detroit. Let's go YB.
He can go
me,
first. Yeah.
Then Hugh. YB, me, then Hugh.
All right.
Detroit.
Sounds good. For Detroit, I have one word: rebuild.
Veteran.
I put experienced point guard.
Orlando.
I put confused.
GM.
I put players staying healthy.
Respectable. All right. DC. Represent.
Disappointment.
John Wall.
I put whole new front office.
Cleveland.
Mess.
High draft pick. Again.
I put experienced veteran.
Toronto.
Blow it up.
DeMar DeRozan.
I put playing in their own country.
That is interesting because, yeah, they're not, just to remind the viewers, they are playing down in somewhere in
Tampa.
Florida.
Tampa.
There you go. Shout out to Tom Brady. Chicago.
That's another one I think needs to blow it up.
Solid big.
Elite scorer to pair with Levine.
Indiana.
Mediocre.
TJ Warren. I'm just going with a bunch of players right now.
I put another guard that can score.
TJ Warren.
Oh, take it as you may.
Boston.
I think they're close, maybe a big man away.
About same here. Any big name or big playmaker?
Big man.
New York Knicks.
I put that they're on the rise.
Fans in the arena.
I put another big man.
Miami.
My word for Miami is inconsistent.
I got LaMarcus Aldridge.
Hey, I put big man too there.
Atlanta.
I said they're turning it up. They look pretty good to me.
Keep John Collins.
I agree with that 100%. I put keep the guys healthy.
Charlotte.
Overachievers.
All three Ball brothers.
I put veteran leadership.
Milwaukee.
I put expected. They're a great team.
More Giannis threes.
I put keeping all their players healthy.
Brooklyn.
Volatile.
I love the adjective there. Floor time for the big 3.5.
Blake Griffin's only a half now.
And DeAndre Jordan. They both make the half.
Oh,
We'll get
they're
into
a quarter.
that. We'll get into
They're a
that.
quarter.
You got one more team. Go ahead and give them
I put big man.
Philadelphia.
I put set to win.
2 things for me: healthy Embiid and Kyle Lowry.
I just put a little more depth off the bench there.
And that's round 1 right there. So let's dive into something. Anything pop out to y'all, or anything y'all had on your mind that you want to jump straight into? The list of the Eastern Conference mentions.
Yeah, I'd like to say something.
What you got?
Toronto, like I touched on, this season with no fans, I feel like people don't think might not be that big of a deal as past seasons, but I really think it's affected the Raptors. We see how poorly they're playing. They just gave Houston their first win in 20 games. They're just not playing the way we're used to, and all their pieces are still pretty much there that they've had. So it's kind of crazy to see them could kind of do a 180 and be so bad this year. And I think most of it comes down to playing in Tampa. Yeah, I think it's a big deal, and a lot of people don't think it might be that big of a deal, but I think it's a really big deal.
I mean, yeah, obviously it's making a big impact because, what's home court nowadays anyway with COVID, but then you remove your players from their home environment. I don't know how that situation is specifically working out with their family situations. I mean, obviously they have houses back at home in Toronto, but I'm assuming maybe some of their family has moved down closer as far as temporarily or here and there. I don't know how that works. I'm sure that mentally has to affect each and every one of those teammates. And yeah, the reason why I picked DeMar DeRozan, just touching up on, with Toronto there, is just going opposite of what they're trying to do now as far as sell off the team. Maybe they needed their guy back, bring back the maybe not the heart and soul of the team, but one of those main guys from a few seasons ago. I think he's ready to move on from the Spurs when he's given the opportunity anyway. But yeah, just a what if.
I mean, I kind of feel like the fans are having an effect, but I also feel like this roster is pretty much run its course. I think bringing DeMar DeRozan would give you a reset, and I think moving on from Kyle Lowry and bringing in a different guard to pair with DeRozan, and I think they just need to rethink the roster. Like I say, obviously playing out of their home area is affecting them as it would affect any of us. But I saw looking at this roster going into this year, heading in the wrong direction. And I think it's time to start rethinking how it's put together.
Speaking of rethinking, y'all want to mention anything about Washington or Cleveland? I mean, Washington, it's kind of like they look like sometimes, man, this is a team that could be in the playoffs for sure when they go against tough teams and they win. And then when they just blow stuff up on the court and they botch a win or a potential win, and then it just looks like, okay, this experiment's no longer an experiment. It needs to hit a hard restart button. The reason why I mentioned John Wall is not because they need John Wall, but just that's the problem. They don't have John Wall there anymore. So, the excuses for all these losses, John Wall's not there. So you don't have what you had last year where you can just pinpoint to maybe a single person. Not that John Wall needed to take the blame or the fall for everything that was happening, but, in essence, this team is performing the same exact way as if it kept John Wall.
Yeah,
The way,
yeah. I mean, I agree with what you're saying. I put the whole front office because I just mean they've had, you know, a lot of talent in there, and they've had teams that should be winning that hasn't, and it's just like on repeat, same thing. They finally cut off John Wall, brought in Russell Westbrook, and nothing's different. They have a lot of talent, and there's just no reason for them not to be winning. You said something about the Cavs. I would just like touch on them. I think the Cavs have an amazing young core, and Colin Sexton and Darius Garland and those type of guys. I just put experienced veteran, someone to come in and teach them guys, help them grow. Not, I mean, kind of like a Chris Paul. He helps people around him. He teaches young guys, something like that. So that's just I just wanted to touch on the Cavs too real quick.
all right, so with Washington, that's probably the most disappointed I am in any team on this list on either side, either conference. Uh, they have all the talent in the world, and their coaching staff, their management team, they don't know how to work talent in, and they don't know how to build a system for success. They just kind of throw the players out there on the floor and expect it to win. And it hasn't worked before. It's not working now. I think they need a new front office, a whole new GM, a whole new coach. They need to just rethink everything there in Washington, because this team should be a top 8 team easily, and they're not even sniffing a playoff playing game at this point. You've got a former MVP who averaged a triple double and the NBA leading scorer on your team, and you can't win games. There's something wrong at a deeper level. For
Yeah.
Cleveland, I don't, as much as I say an experienced veteran wouldn't hurt them, they've got some guys who've been there, who've won things, and they're not nurturing this core that you talked about. Honestly, I don't know if there is a player you can bring in to fix what Cleveland's had and has had anytime they haven't had a guy named LeBron James on their team. And that's a true leader. Their coach isn't a true leader, their front office, their ownership, their general manager. Nobody knows how to manage anything without LeBron in Cleveland, and nothing about that's changed to me.
Yeah, how about Washington just goes ahead and changes their name like the football team did as well? Shout out to Hugh real quick right here. You might like this name. How about the Washington Whistleblowers?
Let's do it.
Okay. And speaking of B, what you were saying about the GM situation in Hugh, Orlando. I mean, there's not a whole lot I want to say about them, but I had GM as, I guess, the word or phrase for them. And yeah, they're definitely like a step too late, in my opinion. Like, you keep teetering as a playoff team the last couple seasons, to be honest. And I think they definitely need to pull the trigger and make some trades happen right now before the trade deadline. Like, start a fire sale, because you're just putting yourself in the same rut year after year. So, get something back instead of losing people later on.
Yeah, yeah. I put for Orlando. I put staying healthy. I think Orlando. I think they have some talent down there, but I know this year they've just been decimated with injuries, so that's the main reason I put staying healthy for them.
Oh, you got something, B?
I just want, like, I'm confused as to what Orlando is. Very similar to how I feel about the Bulls. Like, they have some talent on the roster, but I don't see how you look at this roster and think contender. And I also don't look at this roster and say they're trying to improve for the future. They've had the same core group of guys for several seasons now and haven't done anything with it. And most of these guys are probably not coming back. So I agree with you, B. They should fire sale and get back as many picks or value as they can before everybody just walks away for free.
Well, let me just say this, because I didn't do a whole lot of research, but I kind of want to dive into this now that y'all are talking about these topics about the GMs and what you just mentioned, B, about Orlando and Chicago kind of be on that same realm for you, as far as you don't know what they are. I mean, the front office, it seems like it's like that old school, typical front office where you just do what you can. We don't shake things up. We don't fire the guy. Let's look at a place like Philadelphia, who hired Elton Brand, a few seasons back as their GM, a guy who actually played in the league for a while. And, not to get political, but, and, Black American basketball player or ex-basketball player. And maybe a team like Atlanta, I'm not sure who their GM is, but if you're looking at Atlanta this year, look where they started at the beginning of the season. Like they had a slump going on early where they didn't look like the team like I was thinking, like, okay, they should be closer into the playoff race or in the playoff race like early on, like they should be definitely top 8. But they've turned things around. Like their front office, obviously did some things in the offseason to bring in a couple guys, but injuries happen. But they're doing something here where they're able to develop a young talent in Trae Young and then mold the team around that and then make that adjustment where, okay, we're losing games, something needs to change, we need to shake this up because we're more talented than what the record shows. So they fire the coach, unfortunately for him. But ever since then, they've been winning a lot of games. And now, like we mentioned yesterday, they're still trying to make some moves potentially with trading players like John Collins and I forget who else. I think it's Bogdanovich, potentially trading them. Like I think they should keep John Collins personally, but obviously they're seeing something now that okay might bite them in the butt later if they don't make a change. And I think that's a positive sign when you're talking about a young team like this who they need the roster to work and they need the adjustments. And it starts at the front office where they have to see what talent pool is out there versus what they have and how to make things mendable and grow. So yeah, definitely shout out to them. What do y'all think about Atlanta? Like I said, my phrase for them was keep John Collins.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm actually happy you brought them up. I was wanting to talk about them a little bit too, but I love Atlanta. I love what they're doing. I put staying healthy for them because they have had the injury bug too a little bit, but now here lately, we've seen a lot of the players come back and look how their wins are showing. A lot of their players back. I love their core. I love watching Atlanta play. I 100% agree with you that they should not trade John Collins. I think he could be a centerpiece along with Trae Young for that team for a long time to come. I think John Collins only 22, maybe something like that. He's young,
Yeah, he might be
and so
23 too.
I mean he's only something like that. But I in my opinion he's only gonna get better. I think they should. We see how well that team's playing now. I think they should leave that core in. Maybe Bogdanovich. I know he's not you know more of a role player, but I see him, maybe being traded, but I'd keep Collins. But yeah, I think Atlanta stays healthy, and I think they're going to continue to see success with Nate McMillan at the helm now. We see, how hard they play under him and how much they value winning now, unlike the first half of the season. So yeah, I think Atlanta just stays healthy and they're gonna have a decent seed going into the playoffs.
Yeah, and maybe with the Hawks, maybe part of the thing that's going on with the reason why they might want to trade John Collins is something that's happening off of the court. I know there was reports a couple months back about um, some situations with John Collins and Trae Young. So maybe they're just trying to keep that team chemistry at at a good place, and maybe they feel like okay, well Trae's the guy we really want to focus on. So even though John Collins is playing well, we need to keep everything from the top to the bottom, tight.
I kind of feel like the moves they're making, they're more aggressive, are commendable. It's easy to stick with what you know, but they're willing to make these aggressive trades and make these changes in the middle of the season to turn the team around because they think they're better. And it's showing that the players are responding like, hey, we got this group of guys. You either get on board or we're going to move you and get somebody who is. And whether it's the right move to keep John Collins or not, I think if they're willing to put that on the table that, hey, if he's not going to be a part of what we're trying to build, then we're going to move on and we're not going to wait. And we're not going to try and milk this out and try and convince them to stay. You don't want to be a part. We can move on and get value out of you. And I mean, that's refreshing, in my opinion, as an organization, after especially watching somebody like Orlando sit on the same group forever and forever, knowing that they're not going to stay. So I really like what Atlanta's doing.
Yeah, let's dive into Philadelphia because that was the other team that I was mentioning alongside Atlanta. I had healthy Embiid and potentially Kyle Lowry as a trade target for them to acquire. And with a lot of the news that was going on last year, the what ifs of, should we keep Ben Simmons or should we keep Joel Embiid? Which one should they trade or break up, and who they should go after? But they chose to stick it out and give it another run. And they added, Seth Curry and Danny Green, 3-point shooters, to compensate for the lack thereof with Ben Simmons. And I just think that's a great thing what they did there. But the most important thing that I want to make sure to give recognition to is the hiring of Doc Rivers. Coming off with the playoff loss, the early exit with the Clippers the past season, and has already won a title as a coach with the Boston Celtics in 2008. They made a strong play there to acquire him and to help lead and form these young guys into contenders, like legit contenders, because we know the talent is there. So the talent wasn't the issue. It was definitely health and then just connectivity. Like I said, the reports were, should they keep Simmons and Embiid together or trade one or both and do a hard restart again? We've seen a lot of tanking years to get to this point where you could trust the process. So I definitely want to commend them on the hiring of Doc Rivers. And I just think they're doing a great thing there. And then if they could add a player like Kyle Lowry in there and keep obviously that core with Tobias Harris as well, then I think they're just going to look even more deadly. And, if you're not favoring them in any sort of way, then they're going to be a big underdog and upset for you because they're going to be hard to handle. They're winning games still with Joel Embiid out and without making a trade at the moment. So with reports of a Kyle Lowry type of player or Malcolm Brogdon type of player in the trade rumors, I don't know who they're giving up to get these guys, but if they make a move like that, it's going to be hard to beat, man. Hard to beat. I was already saying earlier in the season that was my pick, my bold pick to make it out of the East. Right now I feel like they're definitely in the Eastern Conference Finals, but they make another big jump like that, and it's going to be tough.
You go ahead, B. Take your team.
So I'm an unapologetic Sixers fan, but it's been a rough several years since the playoff run of 01. They've drafted a lot of talent. They have trusted in keeping Embiid and Simmons together. It's good to put the shooters in there. Bringing a Kyle Lowry in, I'm not sold that that's going to necessarily gain anything because I don't know how much depth they'll have to give up for it for a player of that caliber. But obviously, another talented player starting is always a good thing. But I definitely wouldn't want them to sacrifice the depth, which has really led to a lot of their success, especially with Embiid's absence. But yeah, a healthy Embiid for the playoffs is definitely a must.
Yeah, that's true about Kyle Lowry. I wouldn't want them to give up a lot. It'd be great if he was able to be bought out and then he wanted to go over there, but I don't think that's going to happen. But my thing for, if he gets there is just because he played for Philly in high school and I believe Villanova in college. So, hometown kid there. I think he just embraced the environment and the teammates and be an easy acclimation as far as any of those players that he can get or they can get to come to the team.
Yeah. I will say shout out to the Sixers. I know since the Nets have gotten Harden that I've been strongly pushing them out the East, but seeing what the Sixers are able to do without Embiid is extremely impressive to me. With your best guy, probably the leading guy for MVP this season, when he goes down, you expect them to slip some, and they really haven't. They really, just look the same. What?
Who is the team that they recently just defeated?
Man, we talked about this last night.
Yeah, just mention again. I don't remember.
They beat the Warriors.
Oh, my bad. I wasn't setting it up for that. That was my bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you were talking about, man, look, they're still winning games with Ben Simmons and then Shake Milton. I'm sorry. And now I just can't
Man,
watch you.
dude, nah, hey, with Embiid played last night, the way we ain't got no big man, he probably would have put up 50 on us, man. No kidding.
Yeah.
So yeah, shout out to the Sixers. I mean, it's impressive what they can do. It was hard for me to really think of something to do for them, so I just said put depth off the bench. And even though I think they got good depth, but I just think a little more can't hurt. A guy who can play a good role where you don't have to give up a lot for him. Maybe you got a lot of 3-point shooters. Maybe another guy on the inside. I don't really know how good their bench is. I know they got Dwight Howard. Maybe a forward to pair with him. More dominant on the inside, maybe something like that. But yeah, I like Kyle Lowry. He'd be intriguing there. But yeah, I'm kind of with y'all. I think their bench is pretty good and their role guys are pretty good. And I don't know how much I'd want to give up. Shake Milton's balling, Seth Curry's balling. All those guys off the bench are balling. So yeah, that's how I feel on that.
Oh, B, and to answer your question, I forgot when I did look up some of this information on a potential Kyle Lowry trade, I think it would involve maybe some type of first round pick and the rookie Tyrese Maxey. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with him much as far as keeping up the season with the players, but that is what I saw in the report.
I don't think that's bad of a trade, to be honest.
I don't think it's that bad either.
I don't think
because
that's
you still
that bad.
keep your depth as far as, like you said, Shake Milton as far as backup guard, and then you have Danny Green and also Seth Curry, and also if JJ Redick gets bought out, they're talking about him coming to Philly as well. So another 3-point shooter who has played with them the last couple of seasons. So, I mean, if they can pull that off, a Kyle Lowry trade without giving up a whole lot of team depth and get JJ Redick on the cheap, it's serious, bro.
Man, that team will be able to stretch a floor like we've never seen.
B, what do you think about that?
I think if they can get Kyle Lowry for a deal like that, I think it's definitely a good move. Like I say, but I still believe that getting Embiid healthy is still the most important part to maintaining their success, because that leans on the strength that they have against what Brooklyn's bringing, which is Brooklyn is older in their front court. And I like the maneuverability of Embiid against that matchup. And I think that's going to be key for them winning in the East.
So what if they were to pull off these, acquiring these players, and that leads to more rest for Joel Embiid in a situation of kind of what Brooklyn's doing with Kevin Durant, even though Philly doesn't have a James Harden. But yeah, how would you think about that? Because that could extend the time that Joel is out for rest, just so he can be at his peak or however healthy he can be by the time playoffs come around. Not that he wouldn't play any more regular season games, but you're talking about maybe an extra week, maybe an extra 2 weeks, or maybe on and off, no back-to-backs.
I mean, I definitely like the look of it. If, like I say, if these things work out. Trades are always sort of a funny thing, but I definitely wouldn't be against picking up JJ. I think he played well when he was there before, and I think he goes well with the new system that they're working under Doc Rivers. And I think that the Doc Rivers pickup is definitely something that shouldn't be overlooked, because he's managed those personalities better than any coach they've had before. And if you bring in a Kyle Lowry, that I think he will manage that just as well.
Yeah, so bottom line for me, Philly is not done. I think there's still something that's going to happen by the end of the week, even after the trade deadline. Like I said, if some players are bought out, they've got their eyes on a couple players there. But speaking of a team that might be done, in my opinion, Milwaukee Bucks, I really don't think they need a whole lot as far as adding more players. That Drew Holiday trade was big, in my opinion, for them when they did that in the offseason. And then they picked up PJ Tucker. So that was a trade. So not really a pickup, I guess, because I don't think he was bought out. But yeah, I had written down more Giannis threes was my pick for, maybe their biggest problem of what they can improve on. going down the stretch of the rest of the regular season, because he's taken them, and I think he's taken them at a higher volume than he had been, and I think he's still filling that All-Star game high, and I don't see anything wrong with it. If you're still winning games and you're able to build up some confidence with the three ball and you're attempting the shots and not afraid to pull the trigger, go for it, because you never know when you might need that down the stretch.
Yeah, yeah. The Bucks. I don't think they need to make a move. I agree with you. I love pretty much your whole roster. I think all of their guys can play amazing defense. That most of them can score. That the Drew Holiday trade was huge for me. I was never big on Eric Bledsoe on that team, and so I like the Drew Holiday there more. Chris Middleton, a guy that's forgotten about a lot, but a huge contributor to that team. And, obviously Giannis. I just put for my pick for them. I just put staying healthy. You don't want to. Giannis. He just missed. I know he only missed one game, but he missed a game. That ain't something you want to start seeing unless it's for rest purposes or anything like that. Especially with how high they're seated in the East. So yeah, I just think take care of yourselves. Try to avoid any injuries. I know it's hard to do, but keep winning games. And yeah, I agree with you. I don't think they need to make any moves.
The way I feel about Milwaukee is that this was expected from me. Like I said before, they have an amazing team. The Drew Holiday move definitely worked out. And the bold prediction for me is I feel like they're more of a threat to the Sixers than the Nets are. I think they're a more complete team. I think they have more better ball movement. And I think that they know Giannis is the guy, and that's the guy they're going to go through. And he's doing the thing that I wish Simmons would have done for the Sixers a long time ago, is develop and get confidence in that range shot. And his range shot is looking better all the time. He's taking more of them. He's getting more confidence in them. And in the playoffs, that's going to matter a lot. Like I say, I view the Bucks as to continue climbing. And like I say, I view them as the biggest threat to the Sixers out of the East.
And what you're mentioning there at the moment, the way it stands, if the playoffs were to start, here pretty soon, that in order for the Nets to get to the Eastern Conference Finals, they would have to go through most likely what would be the Bucks, assuming that they each win their first round. So this is something interesting to keep an eye on, because if they were to beat the Bucks, it's probably going to be a tough challenge. I don't think the Bucks are going to be like the team we saw last year in the bubble when it came to the playoffs and they went against the Miami Heat. Let's talk about Brooklyn real quick. I had floor time for the big 3.5. Yeah, like I said, the half was a combination of Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan. So not a lot going there for me as far as giving them a lot of high hope in what they can do on the court. They're kind of age veterans that are filling a role at this point and not really heavily dependent on to be like an all-star caliber player. But for me, yeah, I just need to see the actual big three with more court time, which was my worry coming into the beginning of the season. Like, okay, if they got James Harden, then they need to develop the chemistry amongst the three. And then after getting James Harden, okay, they need to all three be on the court, because yeah, it's easier to play as a duo when, you're deferring to one other guy and vice versa for the other guy. But then what about when you go against the tougher teams and you have those tougher games down the stretch and it's all three of y'all and the game just doesn't go in your favor? Not everybody wins every game. So if that were to happen, how big of an issue could this be as far as team chemistry on the court and to be able to finish out a game or even finish out a playoff series if it got bad enough?
Yeah, it's a good point you touched on. I think for the Nets to make a deep postseason run, that they are going to need some floor time. All of those guys together in the regular season. They've looked pretty good, but like you said, it's not been all of them at the same time. Harden and Kyrie look really good together, but you throw in KD, you got Blake Griffin now, you got all these big personalities. These guys that all want the ball, all want to score. So, yeah, I think if they get out on the floor together and kind of work out some kinks, that they might be all right. But I mean, they say Durant's, at least probably another 2 weeks, and now Harden's missing a night. Kyrie's out this whole road trip, so I mean, who knows if that'll even happen? by the end of the regular season. I mean, they might just say, you know what, we're gonna keep Durant out to the playoffs, and I mean, then they'll just have to do their best, winging it there. But with the Nets, I put big man. I mean, I think they're pretty loaded at every other position. I've said this multiple times on here before, but I'm not sold on DeAndre Jordan for them. I think another more versatile big would do wonders for them. Like B said earlier, your bud said earlier about like Embiid against the centers that Brooklyn have. I think he'd have a field day with them. I don't see them stopping him. I'm a lot more bigger on Jared Allen when they had him over DeAndre Jordan. I think I don't think DeMarcus Cousins
of giving up the
yeah,
depth to make this big three happen.
yeah. I mean, and thinking of a big they could get, I don't see not DeAndre. What am I doing?
Andre Jordan?
DeMarcus Cousins. No, DeMarcus
DeMarcus
Cousins. Sorry,
Yeah,
I don't see him fitting in well there at all. I hope they do not go that route. I don't. He's all the personalities they have, and to add his, I don't think it would fit in there. Like maybe I don't think the Nets are on the radar, but like an Aldridge or a Drummond. I'd like to see one of them there. But
one thing you had mentioned before the podcast was how this is kind of related or reminds you of the Golden State Warriors when they had all the All-Stars on the court. But the difference I was discussing with you is the fact that they were all playing together. They were all developing that team chemistry, even though you have a player like Durant, Klay Thompson, and Curry scoring the ball, it still needed some form of chemistry and floor time to develop. And Steve Kerr needed to know how to coach these situations, because you get in situations where you have to change, because in the playoffs, these coaches are, when you go against a great coach, they're going to make adjustments because it's a 7-game series. And that's what they need to do.
Yeah, I agree. And we'll see,
hard,
if
in my opinion, for Steve Kerr to make these adjustments when he doesn't know what all lineups that he has that works great.
Steve Nash.
Who did I say?
Steve Kerr.
Yeah. They wish they had him.
Yeah. That's a good point. And one thing with the Warriors too, I don't think all their guys had as big of personalities as they do in Brooklyn. They're all good players. Don't get me wrong, but Kyrie, he throws temper tantrums every now and then Harden. We all know what happened with him in Houston, but yeah, I mean the Warriors, I don't think we're that bad. Draymond's outspoken a lot, and then Durant had a little issue here and there, but I mean between Curry and Klay, they usually don't say too much. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, B, go ahead and jump on that convo about that. I know your thoughts probably just rambling on.
So I have some pretty strong opinions about this Nets team. I mean, obviously they're winning games. Their talent is unquestioned. This is one of the most talented rosters we've seen in recent times. I think Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan are not the answers that they needed. I don't think DeMarcus Cousins is going to be the answer they needed. And I don't think that Steve Nash has any chemistry with these players. I don't think that these players have any chemistry with each other. And I think that Warriors team, the big thing that's overlooked, and I'm not a huge Draymond Green fan, but he was the glue that held that big team together. He was the heart and soul of that team. You saw it when they lost to Cleveland that year.
2016.
His presence on that court really molded that team together in a way. And I don't see who that guy is in Brooklyn. I don't think they even are looking for that guy for the accountability that they bring. It was a big part of what Jordan's game was in Chicago when they were winning. It was a big part of what Kobe brought when they were winning in LA. Yeah, they were the best players on their team, but it doesn't always have to be that, because even back in the early days with Bill Russell being, he wasn't the best player on the team all the time during those Celtics runs, but he was the heart of the team. And I don't see a heart on this team. I could be wrong, but I've made it known before. I don't think that this group of players, as much talent as there is, I don't see winners. I see lots of talent, no accountability. And in the playoffs, accountability matters.
Yeah, you're hitting the target right there when you're talking about the team not having a leader or somebody to hold accountable. And I would just go ahead and make a bold prediction here, because I think I've told you guys personally, if this thing blows up in a situation where the Nets end up like the Clippers did last season, I feel like Kyrie's going to be the one that's going to he's going to be the one to blame as far as the other two are not going to stand by him. Like I feel like he would be the one that needs to be traded. I feel like the Nets would probably do something like that and realize it's not enough depth. Like I said, that's my what if and big bold prediction. Assuming that they didn't make it as far um, into the postseason as they thought, not necessarily being, in the finals, but if they had like a Clippers type of exit where it's just a big disappointment for all that they invested in, something's going to happen. But yeah, let's talk about the other. I'm just going to do a quick mention of the other four teams, I guess, for the playoff race as of right now. Boston, New York, Miami, and you mentioned Charlotte. That's kind of like a joke for me as far as the Charlotte. I said all three Ball brothers. I just thought that'd be kind of cool to throw that in there. Of course, Lonzo is in the trade rumors. LaMelo just got hurt, and he's out for the rest of the season. And the other brother, LiAngelo Ball, is not in the league. So I just wanted to throw that out for kicks and giggles. Boston, I've said enough about Boston time after time. I'm just waiting to see what they do after or right prior to the trade deadline tomorrow, because I think they got something up their sleeve. They're definitely looking at things, and Danny Ainge is a smart GM. Not like the other GMs at the bottom of the Eastern Conference. He knows what he's doing. He's keeping an eye on the team, and I don't know if Kemba's going to be involved in the trade or who they're looking at that's not in the reports. Sometimes, like they say, when you don't hear anything in the reports, somebody's probably doing a little digging on the DL. So look for Boston to definitely make some type of move. Through trade and possibly acquiring somebody in the buyout market if they're interested. New York, yeah, I just mentioned that fans, like, New York's been a long time coming from, where they have been to where they're at so far this season. And now they actually have an all-star that's playing for them once again. So yeah, I'm sure the New York fans are going crazy. I think we had one of the comments when we did the PPF for Julius Randle. They got in there and said, shout out to TS. I'm not sure who TS is, but they said, yeah, give Julius Randle his respect. And yeah, it's definitely past due, but give the New York Knicks their respect for this season and what they've done. I mean, yeah, the fans definitely are deserving of being there. And hopefully, within the next year or so, they can see a packed arena at Madison Square Garden and have some great battles with the Knicks and whoever superstar players they're playing against, and big showdown headlines, and get them a couple more televised games for us. And maybe who knows? Maybe the Knicks are in a Christmas Day game next season. Not to jump too far ahead, but and then who was the other team? Miami. Yeah, Miami's another team that's been in the rumors as far as trading for players. Not sure who they would give up to get some of these players, but it looks like maybe if they can't get LaMarcus Aldridge through the trade, or they don't want to do the trade for him, then they could possibly pick him up in the buyout. He might be, or it looks like he is interested in going there potentially. And there was rumors about them getting Victor Oladipo. If I had to choose one or the other, I would say go big. Even though you have Bam there, just go big and have a traditional rebounder there, and that will help out a whole lot. I like their guards. I mean, Duncan Robinson is on his final year. I think he'll be an unrestricted free agent, so he might not be there next year if they don't want to pay the money for him. But I do like Tally Hero there, so I'd hate to see them trade him. But yeah, do y'all have thoughts on the other four teams, or you don't have to mention all four teams, but just any of them? B, you can go ahead. Look like you got something to say.
Honestly, I'm impressed with how this Knicks team has turned it around to be successful. They actually had a system. It looks like they're actually working it out and building this young core, and I'm excited to see them going forward. I don't know that the success is going to be this year, but if you're a Knicks fan, there's a lot to be excited about. And as far as the Heat, I don't know when the consistency is going to come for them. They've got a lot of talent, and I think a big man is probably a better option than a guard as well. But honestly, I just think you need to find some consistency there to, not go on these long losing streaks and then long win streaks and just go back and forth. I think that they're better than their record as far as their talent goes. And as far as the Hornets, I'm surprised by them too. Them young guys have started coming out firing, and I mean, they're exciting to watch. And that's another one. I don't think that the success is this year, but there's definitely a lot of potential for the future.
Yeah, and also what you mentioned with man, did I just do that again? Oh, the New York Knicks, what we're talking about with the fans. I want to give a shout out to Charles Oakley. They need to allow that man to come back in there if they're winning games like they are. I think he'd be proud of the team and probably less hostile. You probably don't know who that guy is, but go ahead.
I've seen stuff about him. I'll just touch on a couple. Heat. Yeah, I agree with y'all. I think they could use another guard that can score, but yeah, I'd say number one thing is big man. To pair with Bam, they're a little thin. They're after trading Myers Leonard. A little thin at the center spot. So bring in somebody who can do that as well. Another team I want to touch on a little bit is the Bulls. I put a lead scorer to pair with Levine. I think your bud was on here and we were talking about the Bulls and how I don't remember your take on it, D, but I know me and your bud both said that we didn't think Levine was the guy to carry. I mean, he's a great player, but not the guy to carry a team. So I put get somebody else.
I'm sorry, I can't remember exactly what I said on that episode, but at this point, if they're not building with him, I think they should trade him. And if they keep young, just trade him for some assets. Boston has plenty. I think he'd be excellent to have in Boston, even though I think they still need a big. But if they were, that's out of the blue, and this not being in the headlines, tomorrow they pull off a trade and get Zach LaVine, just to have hopes that they get one of these big men in the buyout market, that would totally blow my mind.
Yeah. I mean, the Bulls have an extremely young team. Kobe White and Lauri Markkanen, and Wendell Carter stays healthy for him. I think they have some real potential. Yeah, I mean, I agree with what you said. Either get Levine someone in there to help him, or trade him to somebody who has potential, and he could be a number two option. So yeah, that's just my take on the Bulls.
Anybody else you want to touch on? You give a shout out to the Knicks or nah?
Yeah, I mean, Knicks, I just put a big man. I mean, I think they're playing great. I think they have plenty of point guards. We've got three guys who can pretty much start. I think they're solid there. Yeah, just get Julius Randle some help, somebody else to help him rebound and attack on the inside.
Oh yeah, I like it. Y'all guys ready for round two?
Yeah,
we're gonna pull that all-nighter.
We're gonna pull that
for real.
all-nighter.
It's looking that way now.
We're going to take a little intermission here because it's the 10th episode. Yeah, we made it, man. Made 10 podcast episodes. And what we're going to do is make number 10 a two-parter. So see y'all in a little bit. This is part 1. Peace out.
Deuces.